Hi, guys. Welcome to Farmer Fridays. My name is Elizabeth Lynch, and this is my opportunity to speak to agriculturists, ag organizations, and ag businesses across the state of West Virginia. Today, I'm super excited to do an interview with Jessie Pennell, who is a West Virginia beef industry program specialist. How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing really well. So go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself and your agricultural background and kind of what brought you to this point.
Yes, so I grew up very active in 4-H and FFA. I showed livestock, mostly poultry, a little bit of dairy. And when I was showing dairy, I realized that educating people about where their food comes from was something I wanted to do because dairy is not very prevalent in the state. So I got asked a ton of questions when I was showing my dairy cattle. And then I went on to WVU where I got a degree in extension education and a minor in agribusiness management. And then I was also president of the agricultural sorority at WVU. And when I graduated, I went on to get my master's in agriculture, natural resources, and design. I thought the direction I wanted to go was extension, but I tried to keep an open mind when I was applying for jobs, and I came across this one, and I've absolutely loved it.
That's exciting. It's crazy how, we have a one plan for ourselves and then something else comes out of nowhere. And, it just takes you down a different educational path. So this is really cool. So for my viewers at home who may not know about your job or what you do with the Beef Council or the Cattlemen's Association, so talk to me about their mission or their role in West Virginia agriculture. And of course, what your responsibilities are for the West Virginia Beef Program Industry Specialist.
Yeah, so on the West Virginia Beef Industry Council side, there is a mandated dollar checkoff. So a dollar per head that is sold in the state goes 50 cents goes to West Virginia and 50 cents goes to nationals. And those dollars are spent by promoting beef to consumers. So like you'll see us at the state fair, we always run a radio ad, different things like that, going to local farmers markets and handing out beef recipes, posting on social media. So we're really just trying to get the message that beef is a great source of protein out there. And then on the West Virginia Cattlemen's Association side, it's a membership-based organization. We've got over 400 members all across the state. But we work on educating producers with, BQAs. We have a quarterly newsletter that goes out, like I said, quarterly. And we sponsor different events. So like the Mountaineer Cattlemen's College, that's a huge one that we help put on with Extension. And we also have our new Mountain State Ground Beef program, which a lot of people are excited about, offering producers a premium rate for their cattle, and which will be sold in grocery stores, which we're still working out the details of where they will be sold, but it's a huge opportunity for West Virginia producers that we're really excited to be bringing to the table.
That's really cool and something that I'm pretty excited about. We just spoke about this. I learned about it. And, this is, again, a really huge opportunity for West Virginia beef program people. So it's huge. Now, what do you think is the most challenging thing about your job or working in the beef industry?
There's a lot of things. Okay. I think comparatively to other states have larger staffs. So as a staff of one that splits my time between the Cattlemen's Association and the Beef Council, I've kind of spread myself thin sometimes, but I always try to remember my passion and why I'm here, and promoting agriculture is something that really drives me. So it's not really an issue when it's a labor of love.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. So on the flip side of all of that, what's the best thing about your job?
I love talking to producers and promoting agriculture. From, being in high school, I knew that was something I wanted to do. I didn't necessarily know what industry or what capacity, but just being able to say that's what I get to do every day, and I get to talk to producers, like that's something that I love.
And that's a passion that we definitely share. I love educating people about agriculture, whether it's, being on the farm or different agricultural careers. This is something that I'm super passionate about. So I love that we share that. Now,
yes, definitely.
Kind of going on a different route of things, COVID-19, of course, we're still feeling the effects right now in the ag industry.
Yes.
How has it affected the beef industry in West Virginia?
I think a lot of people are complaining about prices and not being able to afford beef. So that's something that's been a huge concern. And also people are worried, where is their beef coming from? Is it coming from a different country? So to those people, I always like to just say, buy from your local farmer, support your local farmer, brings it back into the local economy. It's going to be higher quality beef. And I think it's just important.
Yeah, no, for sure. And this is a conversation that I have with everybody that I do an interview with. Shopping local, super important. It's the best way that we can support our farmers. So, what other ways can our community actually support the beef industry other than shopping local?
I think it's important to just make educated decisions when it comes to being a consumer. A lot of people just kind of make guesses, but they don't really know for sure. So I definitely recommend people just take the time, do the research, knowing where your food comes from, like I said, so important. But taking the initiative to understand how your food is made and understand, these cattle, they live great lives. Their quality of life is so important. And, that's something farmers get. A lot of people just kind of think, oh, farmers, they're just using the animals. They're not really taking care of them. But that couldn't be less true. People love to care for their animals, and the better care for that the animal is, the better quality the meat's going to be. So I think it's just so important that we take the time to educate ourselves and understand the process of where our food comes from.
And I've helped a lot of youth kind of start their journey into raising animals for meat. And the first thing that I tell them, it's your responsibility as an agriculturist to ensure that this animal has a phenomenal quality of life. That's your job. And,
Yes.
that's something that's typically lost among consumers. Just like you said, people don't exactly know what goes on the farm. And I like to tell those people, go ask your farmer, go take a visit if you can, go see what actually goes on, because you'll notice that most of those animals are cared for better than I care for myself. So,
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Now, what is one thing, if you could pick one thing at all, what is one thing that you want West Virginia to know about the beef industry here in the state?
Okay. So there's definitely a few things that I think it would be important to share with people of West Virginia. Is that one, beef is a high protein meat that is definitely good, especially if you can't afford as much meat. It's just such a high protein content for what you're getting. But also, who doesn't love a good steak, but also the West Virginia cattlemen here in the state definitely take pride in what they're producing. And that's something that they represent on every level, whether that be taking initiative and learning the best practices or just, going to local farmers market. Our West Virginia cattlemen, they're definitely very on the front lines of working hard to make sure that the consumers' our needs are met.
And we definitely need to take pride in what we do here in West Virginia. We're a small state and we have limited amount of space because of the mountains and things like that, but we still make it happen. Agriculturists in the state definitely produce so much stuff. And I was talking to Tyler Rice from Pike Mountain Farms the other day, and this is exactly what he was saying. You go to a farmer's market and you can essentially find almost everything that you want. And that's always a pretty good thing, especially in the state of West Virginia. So yeah, definitely taking pride in what our agriculturists produce. That's a huge thing. Now, moving forward, what advice would you give to somebody who might want to start working in the beef industry?
Yeah, so I definitely would say talk to your neighbors, talk to those people that have been farming for years. They've learned a lot, but I think it's also important that as a new farmer, you keep your mind open to new concepts and ideas. There's a lot of resources across the state that want to help you learn how to get started, help you afford to get started. So I think there's going to be, I hope, a huge influx of new farmers coming in. West Virginia's got great land for cattle farming. So I think that, the sky is the limit when it comes to getting started in the cattle industry in West Virginia.
And is that something that people could contact you about? If they needed help, would they be able to call you about questions and things like that?
Yeah, they could definitely come talk to me and I can direct them to somebody else if I don't have an answer, because, I am fairly new to the cattle industry. I'll admit, not a pro in the slightest, but I'd be happy to help someone get started, get talking to their extension agents, get talking to companies such as Farm Credit. These programs are out there to help farmers get started. So it's so important just to know what your resources are. And I can help someone with that for sure.
Exactly. There's a lot of educational opportunities out there. So great. Really good to mention that. Now, you and we kind of have another passion too. I constantly get asked, how can I be a proponent of agriculture, work in the ag industry, being a woman in ag, and also be involved in the Miss America system? So be involved in scholarship competitions, or the old word is pageants. We have that very similar background there. Now, do you experience the same thing? How can you do both? what has your experience been as a woman in agriculture and also a woman in pageants?
Yeah, so when I started competing in pageantry back in 2014, makes me feel old. I originally wanted to own a bakery and own my own business, and that was kind of what I wanted to do. But as I got older and I was still competing, I kind of realized, hey, agriculture is my passion. That's what I want to do with my career. Why don't I share that message? And it took me a while to figure out how to share that message with consumers. And judges, because they don't totally understand every time what you're talking about. So just learning the right verbiage on how to communicate the message of agriculture and just how important it is was such a huge hurdle for me. But once I figured it out, it kind of all made sense. And because of that, I got to compete at Miss United States representing West Virginia, which was so cool to be able to talk about West Virginia producers on a national level. And it was something that I will cherish forever.
That's amazing. Congratulations on that, first off.
Thank you.
And second, I'd like to kind of go into that, like we discussed previously, bridging that gap between the producers and the consumers. What do you think is the best way to do that?
I think it's so important to just be transparent with what we're doing in the industries, not just in cattle, but in all of them. Producers, they have a lot of questions. They see pictures online that might not tell the whole story. So I think it's so important that we just share our stories, like you said, inviting people over to see your farm, to see where you're growing things, what your operation looks like. That's so important. It's just really important.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And it's difficult too, because a lot of people don't realize how much agriculture affects our daily lives. We are responsible for feeding people every single day, and then we eat as a consumer at least 3 times a day. We wear clothes that come from the ag industry. We put fuel in our vehicles that come from the ag industry. It's food, fuel, and fiber. Those are 3 main things. And it's something that's utilized every single day. So the importance of the ag industry is it's vital, and we need it. And that's, again, why we like to talk about these things. So you and I, again, very similar in these regards. And I love that I'm able to have this experience and be able to help you share your story.
Yes, well, thank you for having me. It's been great.
So I do want to leave you with one more final question.
Okay.
You've got the FFA creed in your head just because you were involved in FFA just like I was.
Yes.
And that speech has been super influential on my life. The first line is, I believe in the future of agriculture. So why do you believe in the future of agriculture?
Agriculture is it's been my passion. It's been something that drives me through every day. So just taking a hold of every opportunity that I can to make a bigger impression of agriculture on everyone across this. First day in college, I remember someone asked me, why are you going to college to be a farmer? And it was kind of like, caught me back a little bit. I was like, I'm not just farming. I'm teaching people about farming. I'm learning better techniques. I'm understanding the industry better as a whole. So I think it's just so important that when we say we believe in the future of agriculture is that we do something about it. Going to all these agricultural events across the state, our farmers are getting older and older. But I will say I have seen an influx of younger farmers coming to these meetings, coming to these events, which is so awesome. So I definitely think agriculture, not just in West Virginia, but all across the country, is going to be coming back stronger than ever. And I think a lot of people are excited to be sharing the message.
Excellent. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your story. You just gave me goosebumps. I love that. All right. Well, that was my final question. Thank you again for allowing me to speak with you today and taking the time to speak with me. So for my viewers at home, definitely check out the Beef Council, the Cattlemen's Association, and the different resources that they provide. Definitely see if you can't get some beef for dinner tonight. It's super exciting.
Definitely.
All right. That's all I have for you today for my Farmer Friday interviews. As always, please remember to thank a farmer.